Which F1 team has the most Constructors' Championships?
It is not Red Bull.
Which F1 team has the most Constructors' Championships?
Could be McLaren, Ferrari or Mercedes, I guess.
Is it Ferrari?
Ferrari.
Ferrari.
Kind of leaning towards Ferrari.
Ferrari.
I'm going to say Ferrari.
It's Ferrari, I think, with 14 titles.
How many Constructors? 9? 16? Goodness me.
Oh, I should not have said that then.
Who holds the record for the most pole positions in F1?
Lewis Hamilton.
So Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton, 107.
It's Hamilton with 104, 5.
Most pole positions in F1 is Lewis Hamilton, and I think he has 103.
Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton with 105?
Lewis Hamilton, 104.
104. I knew that.
Which driver won the first ever Formula One World Championship?
I want to say Fangio.
It should be something known for everyone, but honestly, I have no idea.
No idea, I'm gonna like an idiot. Fangio.
Juan Manuel Fangio.
It's Brabham. No?
That's one I should really know. That I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to take a pass on that one. Giuseppe Farina. That's the one.
Oh, Farina, yes.
First ever F1 World Champion, 1950.
Farina.
Farina.
Farina? Is it? Oh my God.
He was also a rookie champion. I have to add that in.
What is the longest circuit on the current F1 calendar?
Spa.
Spa.
Spa? Spa?
It's Spa. It's 7 meters over 7 kilometers.
Spa.
Spa. Spa.
Spa.
Welcome to the F1 Sim Racing World Championships and welcome to Event 3. We come into this weekend with so much to play for. Both championships still up for grabs. Thomas Ronhaar currently leading the drivers' standings, but only 23 points separate our top 4 drivers. Meanwhile, over in the team standings, Mercedes lead the way despite having not won a race this season. So far, we've seen 7 different race winners across 8 rounds. This season is so close, but today all eyes are on Mexico as we qualify and race later on. But before we get into all of that action, let's have a little look back at how things unfolded in Event 2.
Here we go.
Danny Beresne, can he snatch the victory? Danny Beresne versus Freddie Rasmussen.
No, I don't think I'm good at Silverstone this year. It's a weird track with a lot of random bumps.
Trying to break the toe. We're heading to Stowe Corner. To the inside he looks. Wide goes Rasmussen. It's not over yet.
It was very intense.
Rasmussen's scrapping. It's been so close between the pair of them. And over the line comes Freddie Rasmussen, who holds on.
Danny is a clean racer, so am I, and I think it was a good battle.
We've had some tough qualifyings in the last couple of races, so it's really nice to be back on the front row where we can fight for the win.
Brandon Lee, he's got the jump, but getting the jump on him is Alfie Butcher, and it's a big move for Alfie Butcher because the net race lead belonged to Tom Manley. Loving life at McLaren is the man out front, your leader by a mammoth, Alfie Butcher.
Yeah, obviously really nice to get my first win in Papaya. Obviously we converted really well from the front row of the grid, so yeah, we're looking to kick on now.
We know the pace was very good coming into Zandvoort, and just like last year, we were very competitive and we're in a very good position. The Williams are right next to us in P2 and P4, so it's going to be a fight between us two.
Deployment is being used. You can see the battery draining for Fassi. Does he shape for the move into turn one? He's not close enough.
Win! A late lunge! Oh, it's not enough, but he came from miles back. He came from Amsterdam. That was so well judged from Barry Borman.
I had to defend for, I think, 25 laps against Isma. Was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But luckily I could sort it out and bring P1 to the team.
Late breaking move! Is he going to make the corner? Is he going to get past? Huge, potentially race-defining move for Thomas Ronhaar.
After such a disappointing event 1, to have such a good event 2 is something I could only dream of.
This is for the win. This is for the lead. Thomas Ronhaar takes P1.
I think everything went right that race. Very happy with how it went, and I can't wait for event 3.
Hello everyone, welcome to event 3. I am delighted to be joined by some of the very best in the business, lining up alongside me to take you through all of the action over the next few days. We have Mr. Alex Jakes and we have Matt Gallagher. Guys, lovely to be back with you. How are you both doing?
Doing very well and very much looking forward to what is going to be an epic. And I say that with a lot of confidence because after event 1 and 2, we have seen scenes upon scenes. We've seen drivers step forward, big names not have the campaign that they're expecting, and we need to crown a champion.
We absolutely do need to crown a champion. Yours looking very fresh, by the way, for just coming off of China.
That's a lie, but I appreciate it.
It's all right. I'm trying to sweeten him up as we set things up here. Matt, what about you? How are you feeling for the next few days?
Very excited. We're here, finally. No more talk of, what are they going to do with the last few races? We're here. It's here. Qualifying coming up, race later. 4 races to decide the champion. You've got at least 4, if not more, involved in this fight. And I can't wait to see which way it goes in this final part.
We just had a recap of event 2 and we saw, of course, we had 4 different race winners. This is amazing. This shows how competitive we are this season, right? But who stood out to you across event 2?
I got to say, Thomas Ronhaar. I was so impressed with the way that he was able to modulate his driving, make minor changes, go for that consistency, know when to let a 5th place be a 5th place, and then convert the win when you get the opportunity. It's given him the championship lead, but Matt, we've seen so many drivers be in the mix all the way through.
It's absolutely ridiculous after our conversations from event 1 about Ronhaar's driving and some controversial incidents that he was involved in as well, that he's now leading the championship. We thought he threw away a lot of points, which he did in event 1, but event 2 was a stunning performance from him. He reined it back. How's he going to feel coming into the final event now? 4 races to become the first time he'll ever be able to say to himself, a champion.
Oh, no pressure on his shoulders at all. But as you mentioned, currently leading the standings and our most recent winner. Let's hear from Thomas Ronhaar after event 2.
He was the runner-up last year. He hasn't won since back in Sao Paulo. Thomas Ronhaar, who started this event saying he was P nowhere in both qualifying and the race. It's Butcher who takes victory at Spa. Pookie charges through to second. Ronhaar takes 15 vital points for the championship. Thomas Ronhaar completes the podium for a 5:15 point.
Ronhaar the aggressor from event 1. Event 2 was Ronhaar the cautious, and in this event he has now turned into Ronhaar the winner.
This is for the win. This is for the lead. Thomas Ronhaar takes P1 at the Circuit of the Americas, and he's in a great position to win his first race of the championship.
Thomas Ronhaar, what a run of results he has had. Third, and first, the last 3 races for Thomas Ronhaar. That is a huge amount of points where some other drivers have faltered. Thomas Ronhaar has really stepped up now. Can he continue it into event 3? Those will be questions that will be asked.
.98 points he sits on, leading those drivers' standings. And let's have a little look at them standings, shall we? And you guys can talk us through. Let's start with the drivers. Alex, take us through it.
Well, very, very competitive, but Ron Haar getting there in the end. As you say, our most recent winner. Fassi was the great standout driver of Event 1. He's still in the mix, which is amazing. I don't think anyone, even he, would have expected that. And then you've got Otmir and Barry Boromund, who's had 2 great wins so far this year. Danny Beresnay hasn't competed in all the races. Ozis Lawrence has become our youngest ever winner in the championship. And then Alfie Butcher, Pookie Rasmussen and Benham. It's an amazing top 10, but when you see how close the points are, Matt, it's remarkable that we've got some big names. And Nicholas Longue down in 12th just shows you where we've got to.
Yeah, when you look at the run of results, it's ridiculous because you've got the likes of maybe Ron Haar, and you could say as well with Otmir, they've had consistently good points finishes. And then you have Barry Boromund, who's won a couple of races, and he's still 4th. And then you look at the constructors, speaking of winning, Mercedes haven't felt that this entire season, and they're clear at the moment by 28 points, I'm going to say, mental maths. So it's quite a good... Thank you. Look, I'm starting off this qualifying show big. But yeah, at Red Bull, you have to say on one side of the garage with Freddie Rasmussen, we've not seen the same performance that we're used to seeing from him. Of course, last year's champion. Can he just mount a charge in these last 4 races to at least secure Red Bull the team's championship?
It would be quite something, wouldn't it, if Freddie manages to shoot up the standings there?
I don't think you can really rule anyone out, though, because they've obviously had the longest period of time with the game at this point, the most experience, the most race experience as well. Obviously a LAN event, we've been remote for a couple of years and we came back, we're back to a LAN event. Everyone's used to that now. It's then, can you find the final, in the real thing, you'd say 0.2 of a second. In this format, you'd say 0.02 of a second.
Yeah.
And if they can do that, I would, if someone puts a run together, you could easily see someone vault up from the midfield to be a contender.
And that's what makes this all the more exciting. Now, let's have a little look at how the schedule is over the next few days. So, as we said, today we go qualifying and racing at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. Tomorrow, we move to Brazil for qualifying in the race, and then Qatar. And then our final round, round 12, at the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi. Quite a variety of tracks there. And exciting tracks, really, aren't they? Especially where we start off today in Mexico.
Always is with the Sim Racing Championship. We tend to get a bit of boom and bust in the real thing when it comes to racing in Mexico, but always really intense races. We've seen some absolute stone-cold classics when it's come to Sao Paulo in the past. And finishing in Abu Dhabi just seems right.
It absolutely does. Now, it is not just us taking care of you over the next few days. We also have our reporter, Claire Cottingham, joining us. Claire, where are you? Tell us about what you're going to be up to for us over the next few days.
Well, of course, Ariana, I'm here in Claire's Corner. Where else would I be on this sofa? I'm going to be speaking to all of the drivers after various events. Mostly, sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're sad, sometimes they're elated with their performance. We just never know. But I will be talking to them, grilling them right here throughout the next 3 days after every race. I cannot wait. We're going to start with Mexico in under 10 minutes' time. And I'm just really excited.
We are too, Claire. Now, I hear that there's even more reason to be excited because I think we've got some special messages that have come in, don't we?
I mean, it's only going to be hearing from a world champion and not just a one-time world champion. He's got a couple of titles under his belt. So let's head over and hear from them. They've got a special message for some of their teams.
Hey Tom, Uras and Declan. Good luck for the final event on F1 Sim Racing.
Congrats on a great season and we wish you all the best.
Hi Jano and Freddie, just wanted to wish you of course all the best for the final few races. I'll be watching, but bring it home. All the best.
Wow, it's not every day you get a message from Mr. Max Verstappen there, is it? As you can see, we are now joined by another member of our team, Mr. Marcel Kiefer. Thank you so much for joining us here on the desk. How are you feeling for the next few days?
I'm excited. Thank you for having me, first of all. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be big. We have a couple of tracks where we know the history of the races. They are amazing, and also the qualifyings, they are super tight. Mexico is not a very long track, so every sort of error will cost you a lot. Brazil, the same thing. Abu Dhabi is also super quick nowadays. And Qatar is also, everything is like 1 minute 20 or lower, so it's going to be very exciting.
Who are you keeping your eye out on today, especially when we get to Mexico? Who do you think will go well here?
I think it's going to be a Red Bull track, because from the history, Jano was usually winning here all the time, and Freddie is most of the time on pole. So if they can sort it out, it should be a Red Bull 1-2.
Done. There you go.
Should be.
All right, there
That's
we go.
it then. This has been great, guys.
We'll come back tomorrow.
Let's have a little listen to what our drivers had to say about this circuit, shall we? Let's see how they're feeling.
High curbs, traction. Chicanes, low grip.
Curbs and cutting.
Very tricky.
Fast and difficult.
Long and interesting.
Fast and my favorite.
Fast and tricky.
Long straight. Fast and flowing.
Fast. That's what I kept hearing there. Fast, fast, fast. Let's talk a little bit about this track, shall we? Marcel, you've already touched on who you think will be strong here. Matt, I want to bring you in. Talk us through some of these stats that we've seen from previous years and what it means for this round.
Well, thankfully for Marcel, he hasn't been lying to us, because you can see Otmir winning a lot of them. Ronha, of course, last year. So Burremand as well. Look, 3 second places in the last 3 years, and we've just sort of touched upon the fact he's had a couple of wins this year, and no one else can say that. And if he can mount a charge in these first couple of races, Ferrari are kind of out of the constructors, but he can definitely push for the drivers. But look, you can see this, you can see the form book, but then as soon as we go to lap 1 later on, it will be chaos.
You expecting some chaos, Jakesy?
Yeah, a standard issue from what we've seen this year. But Ronha coming in here as last year's winner, off the back of our taking the flag as well last time out when we were racing. He's going to have a lot of confidence, knows what to do around here. But obviously, the pressure's going to be on this qualifying session because the margins are so tight. It's interesting that our front runners have gone so well around this track. We've seen some spicy stuff in the past, though. Some really aggressive driving. And I think we're in for more of the same.
We like the spicy stuff. That's what we're here for. Let's hear a little bit more about this track with Tom Manley taking us around, giving us a bit of an introduction.
So starting the lap at Mexico, you definitely want to set up the exit a lot. It's very important to get a good exit since such a long straight to start the lap. And then going into T1, it's a very difficult T1. Obviously, you've got to set up the next 2 corners, very tricky chicane. Lots of curb usage on this game. And then, yeah, very important again to get a very good exit and ride the curb at turn 3 to power down to another mini straight before turn 4, sector 2. And then start sector 2 once again, you kind of have to set up another corner, set up the right for the left. Important to carry good minimum speed there as well before you head into a tricky double right. It's important to hit both apexes here to really minimise the scrubbing of the speed in the corner. Otherwise, if you miss the first apex, you can really ruin your second apex and lose lots of time. And then heading down to the tricky high-speed part of the track. Very important again to keep high minimum speed. That's all you can really do through there. Minimise the steering lock. And it's very easy to invalidate here, either on the inside or just going slightly wide in the exit. And then, yeah, that will completely ruin your lap, of course, so important to not do that. And then I think in the F1 game, it's flat out. In real life, I don't think so, but it's flat out, the whole sector 2 section. So, yeah, very important to minimise the steering lock just to maximise your speed before heading into sector 3, where it can be very tricky. You can take lots of curb on the first bit, or you can elect to stay off it. I think either work. And then heading into a very difficult hairpin. It's very easy to slide, maybe need to up the brake bias a little bit, and then set up the last corner. Don't really think about the exit too much since it's quite a short run to the line, just on it as early as possible, on the ERS as early as possible, minimise the track distance, and then that's a lap to Mexico.
Oh, thank you very much to Tom for taking us through that. We had a lot there, easy to make mistakes, easy to invalidate. How are these guys going to be playing it when there's so much on the line, especially the championship contenders? Matt, how much are they going to be pushing this at the risk of completely messing your lap up, like Tom just said?
Well, all of those things they cannot be thinking about during their lap of it's going to be very easy to extend track limits. And we were seeing there, I was standing next to Marcel, and I'm pretty sure I heard the noise about 7 times during that whole lap. It's just showing that you have to be on the limit, and you can't hold anything back in these qualifying sessions, because you might think, you might be 9th or 10th on the grid. No, if you hold something back, you'll be out in Q1. Yeah. It's as simple as that, because you have the front runners like Ronha, etc., as Fassi there, who will obviously be pushing very hard, but then thinking about the championship. Whereas further down, from 11th down, they've got nothing to lose. So they can absolutely send it. So it's going to be fascinating to watch and see how this first qualifying session unfolds.
Marcel, who needs a strong qualifying here?
I think especially McLaren, and also Lucas needs to bounce back. He had some strong showing last time out, but he still didn't score any big result in the races, and I think McLaren, if they want to have a big recovery, it starts in Mexico, so I would say him.
Let's build on that a little bit, because McLaren, they're a team that we have seen so strong. Of course, Lucas has a championship under his belt, but they're just not in the mix at the moment, are they, Alex? But there is still the 4 rounds we've got that they could claw some important points back.
They've got a former champion and one of our drivers there who have been one of our 7 winners this year. But no, the feel and the consistency across the season just hasn't been there for them. A little bit of a surprise, but there's been plenty of surprises this year in terms of who's been at the front all the way through.
Absolutely. We'll see how they fare when they get into things. You can see both the drivers there just getting themselves ready and preparing. Matt, from your perspective, who do you think needs a strong showing in this quali?
For me, it has to be Ron Ha. Ron Ha is obviously a brilliant qualifier anyway, but to kick off the final event with a really strong quali will do wonders for his confidence. And I don't personally want to see a Ron Ha. Well, maybe you do from an entertainment factor. Ron Ha down in like 7th or 8th.
Oh, man.
Shut it. But it was more about the fact that, if Ron Ha's 7th or 8th, he might feel like he needs to do a little bit too much into the race, which we have already seen this year in Event 1, if Alex had let me finish my point. But anyway, we're looking at the track now.
Yeah, Alex, talk us through some of the track info here.
Well, a huge stop down into turn number 1, so it can all fall apart immediately there. You've got a little bit of jumping out of jail space on the outside for the race, but none for qualifying. And then it's all about the rotation of the car coming out of turn 6. It looks a horrible section from 7 to 11. And then you saw with the onboard with Tom Manley a few moments ago how much curb you have to take realistically on the way into 12. Make the corner as wide as possible. Then there's a load of slow stuff to finish the lap. But if you don't make it as efficient as possible, you're leaving time on the table. It's rapid, this racetrack, down to turn 1 and turn number 4.
I want to just quickly touch on the psychology that some of our drivers will be feeling as we head into these final few rounds, because it's a little bit different in the air when there's a championship to be decided, isn't it? And even though you said they can't have these doubts in their mind, surely, Marcel, tell us from a driver perspective, it's going to be in the back of your mind to some extent.
I think it depends also on the personality. I kind of feel like seeing Ronna over the past, there's no doubt in his head, like at all. But some drivers that tend to mess up, maybe like Ferrari, Bari, he has a lot to prove this time. He had a good season with the only driver with 2 wins, but he still also needs to keep that up, so he has a shot at the title still, because Ronna is still a little bit ahead. So yeah, it depends on the driver.
Well, we're going to see how it all shakes out very shortly, because it is time to qualify in Mexico, which means it's time for me to get out of here and hand it over to you guys. Enjoy.
We will. Thank you very much, Ariana. Appreciate the start to the show. We're off to a fine start. Let's see how things unfold. First things first. Q1, Matthew Gallagher.
Q1. The first 5 minutes. The podcast will be rolled out for sure. Of course, we've been speaking about the track with that previous graphic. I mentioned the noises you were making, Marcel. Can you point out where the noises were made in terms of like, wow, they were quick through there?
Turn 2, very difficult to nail because of track limits.
Very noisy corner, turn 2.
Yes, so there's a lot of Marcel noise in turn 2. Then I think it is 7, like the beginning of the middle sector S section, where they actually put the left side of the car fully onto the grass, because there's no such curb and you don't lose that much grip. It is actually more beneficial because you can gain roughly a 10th throughout that whole section. Then you still need to attack the right, left, right, and just pretty much all flat out. No trouble with the light fuel and softs at that stage, and then into sector 3 it's quite difficult.
We're gearing up for what is the beginning of Event 3. And a few moments' time, we will get a green light at the end of the pit lane, and then some utterly pointless laps on the intermediate tyre, followed by huge moments of consequence. And Ariana was asking us earlier on, who needs a good qualifying? I'm looking at my grid. The key thing for here, that what stands out, you've got Thomas Ronha, average position on the grid, 4th. Ishmael Fassi, 5.1. Jarno Opmeer, 8.8. Barry Burrament is the 4th best qualifier of the year. He's gone out in Q1 3 times this year.
I was just looking as well. from the thing you're showing me, Ron Haar's the only driver to have made Q3 this entire year.
Absolutely.
Manley down in 11th, obviously, in the Drivers' Championship, showing he's got so much speed. We keep talking about that. He's only missed out on Q3 twice, but Ron Haar, yeah, he hasn't faltered once yet.
So very, very interesting to see whether Barry Bowman can make it through. If he does make it through, he's usually at the very sharp end. He is one of our contenders. And as Marcel points out, multiple winner. Are we going to see a combination of team and driver step forward? Will we get the usual names, or will it be a continuation of event 1 and 2 where it's topsy-turvy and you're not going to put a run together of back-to-back wins like we might have seen in previous seasons? It's just the case that you have to go out there, some days accept a 4th place, some days just attack on. We're not attacking on at the moment, we're watching a drift competition.
We are.
On the circuit with Brendan Lee.
Which I think is a good time to mention, of course, Brendan Lee's final event of his F1 sim racing career. And I'm sure he will try to go out with a bang, in a good way, hopefully. Fingers crossed for him. I know he'll try and put on a show, that's for sure. Brendan, he's grown so much, hasn't he, as a person since the beginning of this journey back in 2017. And he's a bit of a joker now. So I'm fully expecting some funny moments from Brendan Lee over the next 3 days.
Yeah, Brendan Lee will be enjoying this, the man whose wagging finger got us started all those years ago when he claimed the inaugural title. See the cars ghosting. That is going to continue so that we don't get any of the shenanigans of earlier events and we get the right driver at the start. That bollard's going to take some punishment all the way through.
And it has.
And there you go. There we are. We've rearranged the furniture in the Forasol. I forget what we were actually meant to call it last year, but it's still the Forasol in my head. Not that things pop in during races and pop out immediately. Everyone's just getting up and running at this stage. Marcel, you were saying that you didn't like an intermediate lap when you were racing in the championship?
No, I mean, not in a dry, because it messes up kind of like your feeling. Like there's one thing, force feedback. It's different on wet compound or on intermediate compound compared to the dry tires in the game. And aside from that, obviously, you have different grip. And I kind of don't want to slide around like Brandon, have a drift show. I want to use it like, I want to be in the zone. And I know there's a couple of drivers that also do that, because you could see there's not everyone going out on an intermediate, because some drivers, they just want to be dialed in to soft, as it's completely different in terms of grip levels.
I guess they do try and just check their equipment as well, isn't it? It's a thing to just make sure everything's working. But then I guess you're hoping it is. So there's not really too much point. We only saw, what, 3 or 4 drivers out there on the Inters, but I'm in complete agreement.
Yeah.
Not that I'm anywhere near your driving standards in the virtual world nowadays, but it's that same sort of reference in your head, isn't it? And it's the braking zones, and you don't want to be going out there and just skewing that even ever so slightly in your brain.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it just really depends on the driver. I know, for example, Freddy and Jano, they always check it. I think it's also a Red Bull thing to do, that they just say you have to go out just to make sure everything is going right, because then if it doesn't go right, they could still sort it out maybe pre the first run that they're actually going to send it on. And for me, that was never really the biggest issue. I just wanted to keep dialed in, and I fortunately never had any big issues in my career, but some drivers did, so they want to be a bit more cautious.
I've never seen a bigger flirt with the camera than Ismail Fassi. Maybe Tom Deacon, but Fassi, he's a fine birthday getting in on the app. He's having fun right now. Sums up where we are at the moment. Everyone in a really good mood. Everyone determined to finish this season on a high. You've got the drivers at the front of the field. They didn't seem particularly perturbed, did they? Ismail Fassi, he's in good spirits. Jano Otmir hoping for a breakthrough with this year's build of the game. Everyone trying to catch Thomas Ron Haar. He's trying to seal his inaugural title. First title in the championship. Our runner-up from last year. He only finished 6 points back from our champion last year. That was Freddie Rasmussen. He's trying to do so. Tom Manley's average qualifying position of 7.5 was remarkable. Freddie Rasmussen, 7.1 for him. Danny Beresnik, 5.9. Driver who didn't compete at Zandvoort. He's been ever present ever since, and he's the driver who starts 6th in the standings.
Here we go again. Brendan for his second interlap.
Brendan's just getting screen time. You know what? And I like it. I like it as a tactic. This is the Brendan Lee show at the moment. There's nothing to check. This is just for a laugh around the circuit. Fantastic.
This also confirms, because we haven't dived into my weather report, that we aren't going to see any rain in this qualifying session.
Do you remember where that is on the iPad?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, already loaded it up. Don't worry about that. But yeah, Brendan just having a lot of fun. So forget the references in his brain, because all he's thinking about right now is putting on a show for us. And we appreciate that. Otherwise, we would have literally nobody out there. Brendan Lee pushing on into the final sector now on those green wall tyres.
Yeah, kicking the rear end out into the floor, so he comes. Parking up.
I thought he's going to go and do donuts.
Yeah, I thought he was. I must say that we have a driver change out there. Savo Cogny is in the car for Alpine. He has been promoted into the French outfit, and he is partnering Josh Edu for this event. Joni Tormala taking a step back.
There you go, Brendan. With a smile on his face, he knows what he's done. He knows exactly that everybody was focused in on that drift show. And now he sits back and relaxes. We have 11 minutes and 16 seconds remaining in this Q1 session. And you'd like to think, Marcel, very shortly we will be seeing some dry compound of tyres going out there. Because obviously you've raced around here. My question to you, if you could pick one corner that you dread around here, for whether that's track limits or just losing time, what would you pick?
Nearly every corner, honestly. No, this track was not one of my strongest. Like, I was pace-wise always quite off, especially off Freddy.
At least Tom Deacon's not here to remind you of your results like he did last time.
No, actually, I was always decent, but I was not like on paper quick. Like, there's some of the tracks where you're not very well under practice, but when it comes to the actual session, for some reason you perform well, probably because of pressure or something, and some drivers that have high expectations for themselves, they mess it up. But yeah, I would say pretty much the whole middle sector and the first chicane. If you don't nail it, that's it. Like, literally turn 2, if you don't nail that corner, it's game over.
Turn to the tricky one then, for Matt's new feature. Corner of Dread. Super. If you're wondering where Tom Deacon is, he is retraining as an accountant, and we wish him the best of luck. So, the yawn sums things up at the moment. We're under 10 minutes. You're looking down at the Aston team, and Otis Lawrence, who has provided some of the scenes of the season so far, as he has got up to speed very, very quickly. He's been a race winner. He's taken pole positions and leapt higher than anyone I've ever seen in Esports Arena as he did so. And everyone's just biding their time. It's amazing, isn't it? The amount of hours that they put on behind the wheel, logging the lap times. They'll all be separated by 1,000th of a second in a few moments' time. But we're waiting. And we're waiting with a championship that remains wide open with Thomas Ronhaar on 98 points, Ismail Fassi on 92, Jarno Opmeer, he's had a bit of a grisly time of it. If you speak to him in Claire's Corner after a race, 88 points on the board. He's still in the mix. So many drivers still in the mix as well. Barry Bowen's our only repeat winner this year. Otis Lawrence became our youngest ever in a drag race to the line where he beat Jarno Opmeer back in Jeddah. And then Danny Bresnay, we've talked about him. He's already been waving to you at home down the camera. And
hold on,
finally,
Alex.
the outlaps begin. I'd have done the whole championship if I needed to. As we see the Mercedes of the man we were talking about, Danny Bresnay, 6th in the championship. Matt, you were saying your information is they're going to continue to rotate the drivers as they try to seal the team's championship. They currently lead it.
Exactly. They're not afraid to do their own strategy with this one. Whether they win the drivers is questionable with this strategy, but they're up for the big prize pool, which is the team's championship, and all the drivers seem pretty happy with that. And I spoke to Jake Benham, who of course he was maybe a little bit frustrated in event 1 where he wasn't picked for the amount of races that he would have liked to have been involved in. Of course, only racing in the final one in Saudi where he just popped it on the podium, which was a phenomenal result from him. I mean, he's raced 3 times as Benham, and he's done a third, and a fourth. He's sat there going, guys, can I have a full-time race seat? But it's working for the Mercedes team in terms of leading the Constructors' Championship. And yeah, it's going to be bizarre, isn't it? In fact, we've spoken about that they haven't won a race this year.
Very, very odd, because they've been in contention, haven't they?
Almost all of them.
In almost all of them. Leading on the last lap in Melbourne to start things off. There was a big opportunity for Danny Bresnay at Silverstone. He'll know that that was the one that really should have been an opportunity. You never say, look, it's not like a football commentator saying should have scored, but he knew there was an opportunity that day that he wasn't able to convert. I think great to see him run back at the front though. Smile on his face, competing all the time. Now we're down to serious business. We're through Marcel's dreaded turn 2, and we're firing through one of the DRS zones of this racetrack, down to turn number 4.
Marcel, I wanna feel what you're thinking right now, riding on board with Beresnay. You can see him, he's leaning in the seat. Yeah. He is fully dialed in.
I mean, now it's getting tricky. You want to get good traction here. Usually it's a quite slippery exit out of the double right, but now he has to attack. Like you can see, everyone would say this is a track limit. No, it's perfectly on the white line and you don't lose time by touching the grass. So they just want to attack it as much as they can. Another DRS zone heading into sector 3 and now into one of the more difficult corners where he actually hooks it up on the curb, which I thought it would be slower, but there you can see the pro, he actually does it. Text again, and one more corner where you don't need the sausage curb and keep it tight to minimize the track distance as it's faster on the game, and it's a 1:12.7.
That looked excellent, right? That looked like a brilliant lap from Danny Beresnay. Hooked up. He'd been sat there for nearly 10 minutes waiting to go and do a hot lap. And he is still fastest at the moment. Both of the Ferrari drivers have slotted in second and third, but Otis Lawrence with a 12.5.
Oh, it's rapid out of the gate, isn't it? Let's see what Alfie Butcher can do. McLaren driver, who is one of our 7 different winners of the year. That's a ludicrous amount of lock to crank on. That aggressive turning style that we've seen in the past. The route to unlock the speed, taking the shortest route to the line. And he puts in the 6th fastest time. It's Lawrence. And then 2nd place in the order at the moment. The driver 2nd in the standings. Ismail Fassi trying to continue what has been a real breakthrough year for the Williams team. He's been dropped down to 3rd because 0.02 of a second away is Freddie Rasmussen. Let's see what the 2nd Red Bull can do. This is Jarno Opmeer. Starts 3rd in the point standings, coming in to the event. And he comes over the line.
Wow.
And he finds himself slotting into 10th position. Look how tight it is out there in terms of the times.
So we're seeing some different setups out there, for sure. Some drivers going for a rocket ship in a straight line. Brendan Lee has the fastest first sector of anybody with a 27.5. 2/3 clear of some of the front runners, but obviously losing a lot of that time when he's relying on the downforce. But yeah, very close indeed, as you would imagine. 0.5 separating the top 3, and really important for Ron Ha to be up there. Fassi as well, of course. Then you look a bit further back, Opmeer's going to feel the pressure in 10th. That is for certain. And of course, Burremand just ahead of him in P9. So those two will absolutely have to go again. Otis Lawrence, though, straight out the blocks. He pointed to his temple before we got going for Q1. It's all about the mind games from Otis. He feels confident, and for how young he is, it is so impressive to not be fazed by any of this.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where sometimes you can roar into a championship and you don't know what you don't know, and then it's the difficult 2nd album, isn't it? You come back and you're under pressure to deliver, maybe thinking of Alfie Butcher, who had a great performance in Spa earlier in the year, but he would have been switching to McLaren expecting to fight for the title. It doesn't always work out how you expect. The most important thing is to take the chance when you've got it, and Otis Lawrence has been doing that with some dramatic scenes across the entire year. Sabo Konya has done incredibly well to jump straight in the car in the Alpine. He's placed it P7 in the drop zone. You've got Nicolas Longuet. No, you haven't got Nicolas Longuet. I'm going to get my eyes tested on. Josh Edu, Brendan Lee, Lucas Blakely, former champions, Linus Sturd there. Alvaro Caraton and Thomas Gao complete our drop zone at the moment. Thomas Gao yet to put a time on the board, so he's gone beyond the all 4 wheels, beyond the painted white line.
So it gets even better, of course, if Lawrence and Ron Ha make it through to Q2, because they've decided we're saving a set of tyres, we're all good. And that, of course, is an advantage into Q2 and Q3, where you have an extra set to play with. We'll see who that first driver is. You'd imagine Fassi, wouldn't you, Marcel? Because Fassi, it's not a massive amount of time in normal human terms of 700ths from 3rd to 4th, but in F1 sim racing terms, that's quite a lot, and he'll have to go out again.
I think so too. I think only the top 5 could be safe, but even with Fassi and Beresney, I'm not sure. Like, it's crazy how
it's half a tenth down to 12th.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And I mean, even thinking about it, it's half a tenth to Thomas Ronhaar. So is he even safe? I mean, he is, obviously, because it's very hard that another like 13 drivers or something improve more than he does. But yeah, it's crazy.
So out there at the moment, and we're continuing to focus on the outlaps on the Ferrari, and everyone pouring out of the pit lane, heading onto the circuit, ready to attack and ready to find our way around the circuit. Josh Edu is the driver in your picture. And he has been enjoying life at Alpine so far this year. Everyone choosing their own line, choosing their own outlap with the ghosting on. No massive effect on things. Josh Edu having his best races so far this season in China and Bahrain when he scored a 5th place finish. That was his last point score of the season so far. He did not score during the last event.
1 minute 22 to go in Q1. One final run for these drivers to try and make it through. And for the top 4 in the championship, they're going to be hoping that they can deliver on what is a very difficult lap. Danny Beresney, once again, is going to be the first over the line to give us some action. So Danny not worrying, Marcel, about the fact of, I don't want to be last over the line, track evolution, the sort of minor advantages that you get.
No, I think Danny's also one of the more like reserve drivers with this. He's not so stressed about maybe like, I don't know, 100th of a second, but he rather wants to make it up on track without being distracted, and that is already looking great. He's gaining 1/10. This is what I meant with if you don't nail turn 2, then it's over. He nearly gained over half a tenth there, so it's crazy. Not purple, but still a great first sector. And yeah, Danny is just, in overall this year, he's so consistent. His performance is amazing, and I think Mercedes can feel it, so hopefully he can still have a shot at the title this year.
He will hope so. I love that racing driver comment, Marcel. Not purple. Improving and instantly greedy to try and improve. Danny Beresney, this has been a joy to watch on board, but this is the thing about this circuit. You can put it all together, and then there's so much fiddly stuff still to come at the end. Bollard's in place, which is a relief, considering what we've seen so far. Okay, big moments, given the context of the season so far. Oh, complete with timing graphics as well. It's going to be hundredths of a second in it. Great lap. Danny Beresney gets himself 0.005 of a second away from the benchmark set by Otis Lawrence. Barry Burman, a contender for the title. Oh. He has managed to go over the line. And is that an identical time?
With the same time.
It's got to be an identical
Longue's gone quicker.
Nicely done by Nicholas Longue. Important for him. Drop zone at the moment with Manley, who's had such a good one-lap pace through the year. Hoffland as well, Brendan Lee, Lucas Blakely, former champion, down in 20th as it stands. Ozelderim is down there. And then Alfie Butcher is staring at the drop zone. Jarno Opmeer at risk as well. He's yet to come over the line. Fassi is second in the points. He's top of the pile at the moment. The Williams driver has gone over the line with a 1:12.5 that leaves him ahead of Longue. And heading out in this first part of qualifying, we've got Alvaro Carreton, Pookie, and then also heading out, Seba Kanye, Brendan Lee falling as well, and Josh Edu is the 16th car in the order. It was intense at the end, but they are the 5 to fall.
Obviously the big one there being Pookie. Of course, Mercedes trying to continue their great run of form. Pookie's not had the best last couple of races at the end of Event 2, and sadly for him, his qualifying has come to an end. 18th on the grid for Pookie. Blakely right on the cusp in 15th position.
Oh, wow.
And you think that, of course, there was Ronhaar looking very, very safe in second when he retired. Finished 11th in that session, just showing that the track evolution on that second run was actually quite big, Marcel.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was talking about. Probably not enough drivers would improve to kick him out, but you never know, These guys, sometimes they hook it up. Pookie is always up there usually. Josh also has a couple of strong tracks where he's going for the pole position. And I mean, Brandon is a world champion, so these 3 would have already been enough to push him further back down. But in general, super, super close. Blakely just barely made it through, like you already mentioned. And that's good for him, but let's see if he can make it out of Q2.
So Josh Edu, Alvaro Carreton, Esteban Pookie, Enzo Okonye and Brendan Lee are the drivers out. Not much between them at all, but that is a big moment of consequence. Crucially, our main contenders at the very front of the field. Mercedes doing this driver swap means that Pookie, he's 8th in the standings, but he's missed 2 races so far this year. So our main contenders managing to head through. As you can see the order, well, you did see the order on the left-hand side. That graphic is now being removed in the time that I stared down at my timing page. It's a good moment to say hello to Claire Cottingham. She's in conversation with Esteban Pookie, who went out in Q1.
Not ideal for the Mercedes team. I know you guys have been working incredibly hard over the last few weeks. Talk me through what's happened.
Well, mainly the first sector, both for my laps. I hit the curves in a bad way, bad angle, it threw me off the line. I already started the lap like 1.5 tenths behind what I should have started in. So after that, my first lap was still alright. So I knew there was a lot to improve, but the second lap I hit the same curve in a bad angle. And I just had to nail every turn after that. I made a slight mistake in the fast S section in the second sector, and that was out. I think that was the main issues, those 2 turns.
Was it a track that you were concerned about qualifying on anyway?
No, I felt pretty good around here, qualifying all the practice and here in the warm-up session as well, right before quali. The lap I was doing consistently there was easily enough, but here obviously on the 2 laps that mattered, I made 2 major mistakes, and that was the issue.
I don't mean to put the pressure on you, but obviously the championship fight is coming down to the next few days. Mercedes coming in at leading the way. How confident are you in a race like this and the qualifying that you've had that you'll be able to pick up some good points?
Fortunately, out of the 4 races, this is one of the tracks where you can overtake on the race. So I'm not writing this part down just yet. So I'm looking forward to the race a lot, and we will see.
Never going to count out Mercedes, of course. Bad luck for this one. Good luck for the race.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Claire and Istvan for running us through that situation. I always appreciate the drivers speaking to us after Q1, Matt, because it's worst case scenario, especially for Mercedes, chasing this Constructors title. We're into Q2, by the way, green light at the end of the pit lane, but these are out laps, so we can talk a little bit about what we saw in Q1. 15 drivers left, and we will contend on the new Alpine man. He's slightly disappointed, having had a great first run. That's the difficulty, isn't it? When you're in the arena and you're trying to improve that second run, that's where the experience of those who have been competing earlier in the championship this year had the know-how, had the advantage, and took a step forward that he couldn't go with.
Exactly, that's right, because his first lap was really competitive. I think he was up in around 7th, and we were singing his praises, but you have to take that 10th or 10th and a half step in that second lap to be able to make it through safely to Q2, and he didn't do that. He went a 10th slower than his first lap, and sadly for him, fell at the first hurdle. Ronhart, he managed to obviously save a set of tyres. Did leave it quite close, as we mentioned. He was 0.06 of a second away from being knocked out in Q1. So there was definite... If he'd been told that into the final runs, he may well have gone out again.
Yes.
But he was, as we say, safe and ready to go. And we have a lot of lap times now beginning in this first run in Q2.
So they're out there at the moment, on out laps, getting themselves into the zone, trying to provide themselves with a foundation to attack on that crucial second run when we will decide the top 10 for the race here in Mexico City. And drivers attacking different parts of the circuit. We're looking currently at the configure. We were looking at 4 and 5, and we're looking at the exit of turn 11. And Thomas Ronhart immediately on it. Driver with a huge amount of confidence after his win last time out at the Circuit of the Americas. And 1 year ago, he was triumphing around this circuit. This is the end of effort number 1.
Over the line, quite clearly, a used set of tyres for Ronhart there. A 13.1 is by no means competitive. Or he made a mistake, but Joris Krozen now goes to the top of the 12.7, but still not as fast as we've seen in Q1. A lot of these drivers using that same set from the first part of qualifying.
So Krozen, Lawrence, Borman, Longay. We've now got Zilderim in 5th position. Beresnay up in second. Longuet, Opmeer, Gao, Manley, Butcher, Hofland, Blakely, and Ronha, who seemed to be in a very strange part of the track when we had that long shot coming out of turn 12, looking down to turn 11. Either way, that's not going to be the important lap for him. Some drivers taking run 1 more seriously than others as the ghosting continues to make sure that we don't get any of that slipstream effect that may or may not have dramatically changed things in China when it came to qualifying. They definitely did.
Anyway. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm liking the balancing on the fence there.
Yeah, no, it definitely did, and it definitely decided things, which is why we went back to ghosting when it came to qualifying. Ismail Fassi, everyone's very chilled in here compared to event 2. You feeling that in the room?
It's exactly that. I love how in the pre-show we're saying, championship on the line. They're all going to be, worrying about But the thing is, it can change so quickly as well, because I feel like we've also commented in Event 1 and Event 2, everyone's relaxed, they're laughing, they're blowing kisses to the camera, and then one instant in a race and everything can change. And I'm fully expecting that. This is a more relaxed part of the day in the sense of we're building up to Q3, which of course is where the top 10 are decided. But when we get to the racing and they start getting their elbows out and they start being a bit more aggressive because they realise they're either right at the front of the field and they want to win the championship, or at the back and they want to get a few more points in this final event. They're speaking to the McLaren guys when we were getting on the plane, chatting to them, and they were going, look, it's not been the best season, but hopefully they can just bounce back in this final event. We've seen Alfie Butcher, he can just randomly win. And we're kind of joking about that, and they were saying, we'll do pretty bad in 3 and then just win 1. And that's just how the story of his season so far for Alfie Butcher. But he's proved that he can win races. It's just that consistency that McLaren in particular have been lacking this year.
So we've had the shadow boxing of the first runs. Drivers ready for the track to be in its best condition, when it will be at its most rubbered in, and then go again. Just looking around the arena here and the studio. Drivers have to remain in their rigs even if they do get knocked out. That's a championship rule, which I think is a bit cruel, to be honest.
Harsh, isn't it? Yeah.
But thankfully, we're only talking about it and not setting the rules. Otherwise, imagine what a shambles we'd be watching. As we're looking at the McLaren pair that we were discussing a few moments ago. It's not been the campaign that Lucas Blakely's wanted. I don't think you'd have got great odds on him only scoring points in 1 race. Very competitive in Bahrain as well, but only 1 point scoring finish for the former champion in 2025.
Yeah, and it's been sad to see, just because I speak to Lucas a lot, obviously at the hotel or if we're getting on the plane or whatever, and I've just sensed his demeanour's been quite flat this year. He's sort of lost a little bit of that confidence that we saw when he won the championship, and I feel like that's just had a bit of a domino effect across this whole year, where he just hasn't been able to get the result, whether he's had a great qualifying but then been involved in an incident, or just not been able, through pure pace, to be anywhere near the front. But Bahrain, I know for a fact, will be haunting him, because that was the one that kind of got away for him. So can he mount a great final event? We will have to wait and see.
Out there following Danny Beresnay at the moment. Mercedes man, again, going with this tactic of let's get out there, let's get on with it. And he's happy to run to his own standard and let everyone else try and answer things. Currently with the second fastest time, not entirely representative first run.
Carrying the weight of Mercedes now, because his teammate out, and he's going about his own way, which is fair enough, whatever he feels most comfortable in. But yeah, I feel like Mercedes and Pookie in particular read the script of we want everything to go down to the wire, Alex, because we want a 4-way fight into Abu Dhabi, ideally.
It does always seem to, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does always seem to be quite a lot on the line. We've had some amazing title deciders in recent years. Last year, Freddie Rasmussen coming out on top for the first time in championship history, having been a contender so many times before. Q2, 7 minutes to go. We're beginning event 3. After Mexico City, we go to Sao Paulo, and then we finish off with Qatar and Abu Dhabi. Circuits that all require a flow, high speed, and a high degree of skill as well. We've been talking about Lucas Blakely, and we're currently riding on board with him.
Looking forward to riding on board here with Blakely, former F1 Sim Racing champ. Into turn 1 we go. You're going to be hoping for green on that delta in the top right, because that is a benchmark of an older set of tyres. And it's gone red, in fact, for Lucas. So those first couple of corners that Marcel has been saying is so important, he's not been able to improve like he would have wanted to. He's going to really want to have a... Well, you can see there, just on traction, he gained a 10th. So plenty of time on the table for Lucas Blakely. How much does he risk into this left-hander? Oh, my goodness gracious me.
Loads.
Millimetre
Loads
perfect.
is the answer.
It's great to watch. Through here, it'll be easy flap for Lucas. And then we head into the stadium section. Again, how much does he risk on this right-hander? Didn't feel like as much risk as maybe we've seen from other drivers we rode on board with in Q1, but it's a purple middle sector, you'd hope so. I'm hearing laughing behind me, so I'm not really sure what's going on out there at the moment.
That's not at you, Matt.
No, I hope not.
All right, you don't take that personally, buddy. Barry Burman's fastest, then it's Nicholas Longuet. Otis Lawrence is in third.
Yeah, it was the Ferrari drivers that were laughing.
That's why they're laughing, because they're 1 and 2 right now. Danny Bresnay in fourth, then Lucas Blakely's time with that rapid middle sector gets him to... he finds himself to fifth. All sorts going on in front of us. Chopping from left to right. Here's a contender for the title. Ismail Fassi with a rejuvenated Williams team. Out of the final corner. He puts it second. He's got a good feel around this circuit. We've seen that in both sessions now. Autódromo, who had a pole position earlier in the year in Shanghai, finds himself in fifth. Freddie Rasmussen, reigning champion, in sixth at the moment. In the drop zone, we've got Jarno Opmeer. Tom Manley's in the pits. Alfie Butcher is there. Thomas Gow has now dropped in as well. And you've got Blakely, Gow, Manley, the second McLaren of Butcher, then Hoffland, finding himself in 15th position. Danny Bresnay, who went out first, didn't he? Set that time in terms of the run that we're on, run plan that we're on at the moment. Crozen's ahead of him. Then it's Rasmussen, Opmeer, Ronhaar, our championship leader. Autódromo with a great lap, if you consider the context of the rest of his campaign. Otis Lawrence, he looks like he's got a great balance around the circuit. But crucially, Nicholas Longuet there with teammate Barry Burman. Ferrari have the answers in Q2. Ismail Fassi is the driver to split them.
And I believe we're going to get some context to the laughing that I heard behind me. Let's listen in.
Well.
Man, that was a banker.
Oh, I guess you're retired.
Man, your lap is also cooking.
Yes, Otis finished, Danny finished, Lucas
Man, your lap
now.
is cooking. I just cooked.
Oh,
That's
Lucas
my PB.
That's my PB, he says. No wonder he was giggling away behind us.
I love it when it's going so well and you're just laughing. That is fantastic. Reminiscent of Fernando Alonso all those years ago when contending for the title. Okay, Barry Burman, our only repeat winner of the year. He's getting that confidence. It's only Q2. He's finding pace. Clearly with a degree of caution as well, because he said it was only a banker, and yet...
No, he said it was a banger.
A banger, sorry. I was going to say...
a cautious PB I don't think exists.
No, I was wondering why he was like, oh, I'm not even in pushing. I've set a PB. That makes more sense. I might be slightly tired.
We'll let you off. We'll let you off.
In this Q2. Well, that does make more sense. I was thinking, wow, he's only a banker. What are we going to see from him on the final push? He's the fastest driver at the moment. All going very well. Ismail Fassi in second, Nicholas Longuet in third, then it's Otis Lawrence. And I love the relationship those two have, the Ferrari boys.
Yeah.
Because he's elated with his lap, and then he's turning to Nicholas Longuet, who's had his struggles in qualifying so far this year, and going, you're cooking as well. If Ferrari can get both cars in the mix, strategically, that is massive if you consider that you've got the Red Bull 7th and 8th. But if you can put two cars in the top 5, we haven't really seen anyone do that consistently all the way through the year. It gives you options for your race, gives you a chance to react if anyone pulls the trigger early. They're in a great... I know it's Q2, we're going to reset the board, but there's real promise there for Ferrari and this race day.
Yeah, fantastic laps from both of them. You kind of hope for Barry's sake he hasn't peaked too early in the Q2. I can't believe he's PB'd in a middle session of qualifying. You'd expect it when the track is even more ramped up in Q3. But he is, of course, retired from this session. He doesn't want to go again. He'll save a set of tyres into the final runs in Q3. And of course, there's a lot of points up for grabs. We're talking about the drivers, but of course for the teams as well. Ferrari are currently third in the standings with 112. They are 53 points behind Mercedes. Mercedes, of course, with one of the drivers struggling with Pookie out in Q1. if they can lock out a 1-2, and we've seen this already, we saw it last year, if they can both be at the front, they know how to win and to win well with both of the drivers scoring 1-2 finishes. Could history repeat itself again?
No reason why not. No reason why not. If you get it right for an entire event on the evidence of this year, it's going to change things entirely.
He's still talking about it now. Barrett, I literally heard him say, that was so good, man.
Fantastic. Great to hear the enthusiasm, the elation of a driver who's had good times and bad times so far this year. When you've been out in Q1 on 3 occasions and you've just PB'd in Q2, you know that it's a huge moment of celebration. He has parked up to talk about the lap, and it's Burrman who is happily watching with the rest of us in this part of the session. And Danny Bresnay going again, so he pushes on. 30-second warning now. You've got to improve or head out. This is the session to decide our top 10 battling, on the evidence of this, Barry Burrman, for pole position. But there's not much in the way of the gaps out there. Ferrari looking quick. And Danny Bresnay invalidates the lap time by exceeding track limits. We talked about how easy it was to do, and he's done so.
Massive. That's massive now for Mercedes. Both drivers will, unless Danny gets very lucky and no one improves behind him, but you have to expect there will be improvements out there. One of them being Thomas Gall, who is over a 10th up on his current time, P12. Can he just navigate these final few corners? No drifting through this final corner. Yeah, pretty nice indeed. Look at the improvement.
And he's got the traction, he's got the grip, he's got the second fastest time. Danny Bresnay is done. He's in 11th. One Mercedes out in Q1, one Mercedes out in Q2. Big moment there as Otis Lawrence goes fastest. And now, can the McLarens find their way through? Lucas Blakely is out. His time leaves him in 12th position. Looking at Tom Manley, Alfie Butcher, Duncan Hoffland. Is anyone going to fight their way through?
Otmir's had a really steady first sector. He could be, he's in trouble. He's 11th at the moment, so he has to improve, but his first sector was slow.
Nothing for Alfie Butcher as well.
Oh, it's tight. Look at that. Look at the margins at the top right.
Top right tells you that this is going to be so close for Jarno Otmir.
Oh, just P9.
And Jarno Otmir fights his way through. That is a vital, vital moment in the context in his bid to be the champion. And that, in the end, was Joris Krozen, Duncan Hoffland, Danny Bresnay heading out in the second part of qualifying, along with Alfie Butcher, as both McLarens fall at the second hurdle of qualifying.
Yeah, tough to see for Blakely and for Butcher. What's good in the championship in the top 4, they're all through to Q3, which is going to make for a very fascinating race later on. You'd expect maybe one of them could potentially fall before Q3, but they have all made it through. And with Longuet right up there with his teammate, Burrman. Burrman finished P4 in the end, despite PBing, but of course didn't go out for that final run in Q2. And then Ronhard in 8th, Otmir in 9th. It was very close out there, Alex. Otmir made it by 300ths of a second. Ronhard made it by 400ths of a second.
Got to improve on that final lap. The balance of risk and reward writ large there. Interesting to see the Ferraris going very nicely with both entries. Can they find a way to power back through, do what they did, take the team's title? Not impossible. One of the big names to fall in that session was Danny Bresnay. He's talking to Claire Cottingham.
Yeah, it kind of goes bad to worse for the current championship leaders. Danny, just what happened out there? You already said to me, actually, you didn't think it would be fast enough to get into the final part of qualifying.
Well, I would have been fast enough, but the lap I did with the mistake was not fast enough. 2,000 off the cutoff with invalidation. P13 is still a position to fight for points. We don't get anything for the qualifying session, so I won't be too disappointed about this. But this event broke my Q3 streak of the season, because apart from this session, I was managing to start from the top 10 all the time, and we definitely had the pace to do so here as well. It just didn't work out with these tricky chicanes around Mexico.
This is such a good point, isn't it? Because Mercedes, they are leading the championship by 28 points, but you're yet to pick up a win. So can you win from 13th on the grid?
You can win from anywhere. My teammate finished P2 from P16, starting the last lap in the lead in Bahrain. So I don't think anything is impossible.
I know you guys have been working really hard back at the factory. How confident are you that this can be wrapped up and you guys will be champions by the end of it? Do you feel extra pressure?
I'm just as confident as at the beginning of the season. For me, the standings doesn't mean too much. I just try to perform to the best of my ability, and we will see where it puts us.
We will see. Good luck for the race.
Thank you. Good luck to everyone else.
Danny Perez, I mean, if you can exit Q2 with a smile on your face, he's just loved being part of the picture at the front. But we were talking about that sequence from turn 7 to turn 11. Someone's going to invalidate there, because if not, you're not really pushing hard enough, are you?
Exactly. That was the time that he needed, and as you say, missed out by 0.02 with the invalidation. So he was right on the cusp. He had to send it, and as he said, you know, he's been part of Q3 every time he's participated. Of course, he hasn't in one of the races this year. So he's been very impressive over one lap. And you can't discount either of the Mercedes drivers, even though they are further back in on the grid later today, because they've been the masters of strategy, and I'm sure they'll be working very hard right now to figure out what will be the best way to get both of their drivers back in the points, because, as we mentioned, Ferrari are strong. Both Red Bull drivers are in to Q3 as well. It's game on.
Well, the main contenders find themselves fighting through. And we've got Ronha, Fassi, Otmir, Paramount, and Otis Lawrence, our top 5 competing. And we've got the early runs, and then we will sort out our top 10 for what is always a really interesting and aggressive opening lap around this circuit, named for the Rodriguez brothers who competed in Formula 1 in the 60s and the 70s. And Ismail Fassi out on the racetrack. He's not the only one as well. Thomas Ronha, our championship leader, finding themselves out there. Our top 2 separated by 6 points, the margin that Thomas Ronha lost out on last year is the margin he leads by coming into the final 4 races of the campaign that comprise the final event. Today we have 1 qualifying session and 1 race. Tomorrow, 2 qualifying sessions, 2 races, huge intensity. It's going to go a long way to deciding the title and setting up where we conclude things in Abu Dhabi. And Thomas Ronha is now in your picture, building up to enormous speed with the DRS wide open.
Let's see what he can achieve then. Ronha, championship leader, but a lot of drivers still very much in championship contention. Otis Lawrence 5th in the championship at the moment, but did a very scary 12.2 in Q2. So Lawrence may well be one of the favourites coming into these final runs. Ronha riding on board with him, one of the most impressive drivers in qualifying, and he has navigated this first part of the lap very well. Does he invalidate into the left? Oh, it's close, but you can just see how beautifully he steps the rear out there to ensure that he doesn't exceed track limits. Through there is what you would consider easy compared to some of the other corners on the track. And Ronha hard on the brakes now into this right-hander. How much curb does he take? Oh, the whole lot. And then into the hairpin. I think we spoke about with Marcel in event 2 of how much steering lock Ronha puts on. And this has looked like a great lap, but that, yeah, well, he's not invalidated, but he's decided that's not good enough. I'm coming into the pits.
It's thrilling stuff to watch on board. Moving around a lot out there. And unsurprisingly, dialing it back to the pit lane, but gave us something to enjoy.
Yeah, great to
championship leader.
Something.
Championship leader, winner around this circuit last year, winner of the most recent race, podiums, and that run of podiums, third place, and then first place at the Circuit of the Americas, has given him the championship lead after being in contention and just not being able to convert good pace into big results at the start of the campaign. Ishmael Fassi, our opening winner of the year. Didn't score at Silverstone, didn't score at Belgium, bounced back brilliantly at the Netherlands, and then scored 6th position with the bonus point for fastest lap in the Circuit of the Americas contest, our most recent one. Feels a long time ago. Of course, we've, in the real world, got new liveries on these cars now, but we're sticking with what they've got in the game, if you're wondering why that quirk exists.
And in the real world, of course, no fastest lap point anymore, but it still exists in this championship.
As does one for pole position, which is what they're aiming for at the end of the 7 minutes and 35 seconds that we have available to us. Wouldn't like to call this one, don't have to call this one, not going to make you do it either, Matt. I wouldn't do that to you. But I know that you all have your favourites at home and you all have the drivers that you believe are going to get there. It'll be interesting to see whether it really does come down to the milliseconds. On the evidence so far, it could well do. Drivers invalidating laps and costing them dearly. Otis Lawrence has looked in great form so far. You can hear the pip in his ear for the DRS wide open. Nothing to do, just sitting there, relaxing, thinking about life. And then it's time to go to work. Haul on the anchors and make your way through. Neat and tidy. Don't want to take all 4 wheels over the curb, leaning on the exit really nicely and heading to turn number 4.
Beautiful work through the first few corners for Otis Lawrence, as he did a 27.5 first sector, which is very competitive indeed for the Aston Martin driver. It's this double right now. Can he hit both of the apexes like Tom Manley told us in the hot lap guide? Absolutely. And then we've seen Ron Ha through here. And yeah, that's really hooked up on a fresh set of tyres for Otis Lawrence. You can see how dialed in he is in the bottom right-hand side of your screen as well on the camera. I love having the cameras there to see just how much the driver's focused up on these laps. And then through into this right-hander. Once again, a lot of curb for Otis Lawrence. And tries to spot the apex, which he does indeed. And then into this final corner. What does Otis Lawrence put down?
Let's see what he does across the line. Driver who took our most recent pole position and was leaping for joy in the studio before. 112.2 as he comes over the line. Barry Burman absolutely elated with his effort before. Does a 112.4 this time around.
Longay's invalidated.
So Longay puts the time on the board, but it's not a legal one. He'd done a 112.4 as well. 300th of a second behind, but it will not count as a legal lap. So he'll have to throw everything in to the final runs. Otis Lawrence, then Barry Burman, Thomas Gell, then Ulas Elzelderem. Ishmael Fassi is next up. Ishmael Fassi goes into 5th position. Tom Manley is going to cut the beam next, and he does so to start things off. Freddie Rasmussen is next. And Freddie Rasmussen is fastest out there by 300ths of a second.
What a lap from Rasmussen there. 12.2 from the Red Bull driver. What about Jarno Opmeer? He's been struggling a little bit in qualifying so far, and it's only a 12.6 for him. We're seeing a discrepancy in tyres, I think, as well.
Got to be.
Out there. But I'm surprised to see Rasmussen so high up. What about Ron Ha over the line? Doesn't manage it.
Third, 400ths of a second. Had a lot of movement at the rear of the car there, applying the power in the final turns. Coming out of the Nigel Mansell corner. And more movement than I think he would have wanted. So tempting, isn't it, to get on the power nice and early through there. But any movement at the rear, when there are hundredths of a second between second and third, well, that's what makes the difference. It was really neat and tidy stuff for Otis Lawrence. We were on board with him all the way through. Step forward, Freddie. He is finding himself at the front again at a circuit where he's got good form in the past. And we will see what the others can do in the final remaining 4 minutes of the session. But at the moment, big discrepancies, as you said, out there. And no legal lap times for Tom Manley or Nicholas Longay. They invalidated around the circuit.
Certainly have. So a bit of pressure on the Nicholas Longay side of the garage at Ferrari. Rasmussen very quietly just gone about his way and then gone fastest in the session that it matters the most. Will we see personal bests once again from the likes of Barry Burman, who has gone slower on that lap than he did in Q2. Otis Lawrence went slower in this lap than he did in Q2 as well. So there is more time on the board, but I think it's also just showing how difficult it is to master a lap round here.
Sometimes you look at the tracks that they race on and
do you think I could do that?
You watch. Oh, I never think it with this lot. I never think it with this lot ever. But this seems right at the top end of blowing your weekend. Because remember, we talk about Q1 all the time, but if you're a championship contender and you find yourself in 10th, it's so tricky. Unless you have a teammate alongside you to help yourself out, it's so tricky. And Mercedes have got themselves out of trouble a couple of times like that. But equally, when we're getting to this end, well, who's gonna take the opportunity? Nicolas Longuet feeling the moment there. You could see it written all over his face of that invalidation. He's got a chance. He's got a chance to show us what he's done so many times before and take a pole position in the Sim Racing Championship. It's all going to come down to the final 2.5 minutes. It's what we love about this session. It's why we bring it to you in its entirety. From intermediate tyres all the way to a rapid lap of complete precision. That's what we're going to see in a few moments' time. Tom Manley needs a lap time. Nicolas Longuet needs a lap time. Our championship leader, Thomas Ronhaar, is in third. Our reigning champion is the driver to beat. He is currently in provisional pole. Track temperatures at 28 degrees, so very much the part of the temperature window that the teams would be used to. 2-minute warning. And Otis Lawrence is out there looking to improve. Remember, track will be at its best opportunity as well in terms of the rubber that's been laid down. We need to set a grid for the Mexico City Grand Prix. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, what you're seeing now in that top 10, especially from 4th down, is going to change massively. And it really does depend. These moments in these F1 Sim Racing World Championships are pivotal. These are the moments we'll reflect at the end of these 3 days. Who was able to deliver in Q3 of the first race of Event 3? So important for confidence. Freddie Rasmussen unfazed. He's not in the Drivers' Championship fight, but he certainly is there to try and help Red Bull win it. Otis Lawrence, as we've mentioned, P5 in the Drivers' Championship. He needs to win this one if he wants any hope towards the final few races of winning the Drivers. Then you have Ronhaar, Burremand, Otmir. They're all right in the hunt. And then, of course, Fassi, who with that lap in P8, that's nothing to write home about. Plenty to change, Alex, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these drivers negotiate such a difficult track here in Mexico.
Who steps forward when the moment allows them to do so? Otis Lawrence going in to the final event on 64 points in his rookie season. A season where he scored a pole position, a season where he scored a race win. We're on board and looking at the man competing in the rig. Otis Lawrence is sending it to turn number 4. How aggressive is he going to be? 0.04 of a second up when it matters. Can he keep it within the white lines? The rotation through here is vital. You usually see an improvement of the time if you've got the superior tyre on the car. He's up. Only by hundredths. Pole position might only be settled by hundredths.
I think he stayed on the track by quite literally 1 millimetre there.
Oh,
I was expecting to see exceeding track limits, but we didn't get it. And Otis is improving out there. He's going to need 0.04 of a second if he wants to take provisional pole, but it's so close. It doesn't look like right now he's getting it, but can he find it in these last few corners? It looks like he might be.
How early is he going to get on the power? 10th up. Massive opportunity for him now. How great to ride on board all the way to provisional pole position. Over to you, Barry Burremand. Can he take it back? No, he's missed out by 0.04 of a second. Lawrence, then Burremand. Nicolas Longuet is not going to find a lap time. Peels back in. Driver's going to be in 10th position. Disappointment for him. Freddie Rasmussen down at the moment to 3rd. Thomas Ronhaar's in 4th. Fassi finds himself in 5th place. Rasmussen gets close. He gets to the front row, but he's 0.04 of a second back from Otis Lawrence. Thomas Ronhaar out of the final corner. Can he find his best lap at the end when it matters? He got it! He got it at the end, and he's pumped up to our right-hand side. He's taken the pole position when he needed to. He's taken it by 27 thousandths of a second to pip Otis Lawrence, who is understandably disconsolate because it's gone away right at the end there. But the championship leader steps forward and takes pole position in Mexico City.
That's the loudest I've ever heard Thomas Ronhaar. He was absolutely bellowing his celebrations. It was brilliant to see from Ronhaar to deliver as the championship leader in this first race of Event 3. That is so crucial. When he looks in his mirrors, he's going to see a lot of championship rivals. But right now, he's going to be very excited to be securing an extra point to his tally. I reckon Otis Lawrence thought that one was signed, sealed, delivered to him. He looks a little bit gutted, but he's still on the front row of the grid. And Otis has a great chance from there. It's quite a long run down towards turn 1, from what I remember, Alex.
It's not a short run down to turn number 1. Sometimes being P3 is the best. We've seen super aggressive opening laps. In the end, you look at the distance between the top 4, separated by 0.07 of a second from Barry Burman then to Freddie Rasmussen. Our front row will be Otis Lawrence and Thomas Ronhaar, last over the line, first on the grid. Another thrilling qualifying session in F1 sim racing, and it's our championship leader that they're all trying to beat around the corners of Mexico City.
We're taking a look quickly at Ferrari there. Obviously, they were celebrating in Q2. They were having great vibes between each other. Obviously, they're now debriefing. Longay didn't manage to put a lap on the board.
Same for Tom Manley.
One lap, yeah. Manley as well, who has been excellent in qualifying this year. Longay, when it mattered the most, sadly couldn't put a lap together, and you could see he was quite angry with the way he entered the pit lane, which I think we saw as well with the bollard getting sent to another dimension. But they're still both in Q3. They can build from there, but maybe not what they were hoping for.
Ishmael Fassi doesn't seem too perturbed with his 6th place. 0.2 of a second back. Quite a bit if you consider some of the margins that we've seen so far, but 6th place. Again, we've talked about the consistency. We have talked about what you need to find yourself at the front. That's exactly what Thomas Ronhaar has done. He's taken pole position. He's talking to Claire Cottingham.
Well, an impressive lap as well, it must be said. Thomas, talk me through it, because I think you just said it was one of your fastest laps, if not the fastest lap out there that you've been doing throughout all your practice sessions.
Yeah, no, first of all, I want to say a big thank you to everybody behind our team. We've done such a good preparation out of this event. I thought in this event Mexico was going to be my worst track, but I guess one of your worst tracks can turn out to be one of your best in quali. Yeah, it was my best lap in a month's time. In practice, I only managed to go faster once. So yeah, to get that lap together, especially after seeing the likes of Otis in Q2 being so quick, is yeah, a big surprise, but I'm very happy.
You were one of the last as well to come across the line. When were you sort of realising, because Otis set that incredible lap and then the Ferraris went through, are you looking at other people, or are you kind of focusing and then, because you know, it was quite a big celebration that you had?
No, I was very happy with the lap, but yeah, I was the very last one to cross the line, and I saw Otis' time pop up with a 1.6. So when I saw the split, it was one of my fastest splits I've done. I think it was like a 54.04, which is a very strong split. Then I knew I had to take it cautiously to get a guaranteed third. But yeah, I had a very good last sector and managed to get pole, and I'm very happy.
The odds are massively in your favour, obviously, for this next couple of days. You could obviously win the championship. You're leading the way. This is a bit of a marker, isn't it, for the rest of the week?
It honestly surprised me, even, to be up there so quickly. But yeah, the start of this strong, being the championship lead is always very good. An extra point at the championship as well. Nearly on 100 points. So yeah, it's a perfect start, and can't wait for the race.
The race, let's talk about that just briefly. It can be quite chaotic, Mexico. How confident are you to be winning that from pole position?
Feeling very confident. Of course, into turn 1 is going to be a bit of a slipstream fest. So yeah, maybe taking the lead in turn 1 is going to be a bit harder than, let's say, from 3rd or 4th, because last year I started 4th, and after turn 1 I was 1st. So who knows whether it's 3rd or 4th can do something from there and yeah, snatch P1 or P2 from someone else. Yeah, to get an extra point is always, you know, better than starting 2nd, 3rd or 4th. So yeah, I'm really looking forward.
At this point as well, consistency really is key in your championship. Good luck for the race. I look forward to seeing how it goes.
Perfect, thank you.
Well, that was your pole sitter, Thomas Ronhaar. And wow, what a qualifying session, guys. That was down to the very last second, literally.
Yeah, it's been very calm in here so far today. And then suddenly it clicked into gear, and it felt like the Sim Racing Championship all over again. Great lap to be last over the line. You put a lot of pressure on yourself to do that. He delivered, and Matt said it really nicely. I think Otis Lawrence thought that was his. Thomas Ronhaar had a other ideas and executed it really nicely.
We're going to talk a little bit more about about Lawrence rather in a second, but for now we can hear, I think, from Thomas Ronhaar some of his radio messages with his team. Let's have a little listen.
Dan, lekker man! Heerlijk. Met de kans, man!
You know, it's loud when it literally cuts out. Like,
I
that's
think he is happy.
Distorting.
That was quite the reaction there, wasn't it, Matt? I mean, that clearly meant a lot to him.
I think it shows what we've been saying about how important this first qualifying session is,
Yeah.
and how much he knew that was important to start from pole.
Mhm.
You get an extra point, which of course extends his championship lead ever so slightly. It might be the 1 point that's the difference come Abu Dhabi. We don't know. But yeah, you can see he's brimming with confidence right now, and he's a scary prospect.
He is indeed. Let's now talk about Otis Lawrence, because as you just said, Alex, I think he thought he had it. I think most people thought he maybe had it until that last moment where Ronhaar crossed the line. A tough pill to swallow, but still lining up in a good position, right?
Got a great opportunity, as Matt said, massive run down to turn number 1. Sometimes you can go from 4th to the lead. It can get super scrappy there. I don't think Thomas Ronhaar would have picked the youngest winner in sim racing history to be alongside him, because from his point of view, it's very difficult to go into anything other than manage your points total mode. Lawrence just wants to win races. He's in 5th in the point standings. He has just the desire to win the race. So it's going to be interesting down to turn number 1.
It's not the most comforting prospect, is it, when you've got someone who doesn't really have anything to lose alongside you? We've also got his comms as well. Let's have a little look and listen to that.
That's dumb. GG, bro.
Let's go, come on.
That's dumb.
Oh.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
There we
and
go.
Disappointed, that's what it is, right? Let's move on to some of the other drivers there. Nicholas Longate not even setting a time. Matt, it's not really what he's going to be wanting, is it?
No, it shows how quickly it can change from
Yeah.
Q2, where they were joking, having a laugh. Oh, you're setting a PB? Oh, you're doing a banger. No, you're doing a banger.
Yeah.
And then sadly for him, not to set a lap time is kind of unforgivable in the sense of you're always going to start right at the back of that session. So Longay will start from 10th. He'll know that he's messed up, but it's actually not the worst qualifying position he's had so far this year. He's still in the hunt. He's still starting in the points. But Ferrari, it is a missed opportunity because they easily could have been in the top 4, both of them. But sadly, it's 4th and 10th.
Yeah, a little bit too much celebration in Q2 there when the job wasn't completely done. But now we are going to head over to Marcel, who's going to talk us through that pole lap. Let's do it.
Where is he? He's right there!
Oh, hello! I didn't know I'm already there. But we are. So we moved our VIP section to the actual VIPs, which are our lovely presenters and the drivers. So here we go for the fastest lap of the session with Thomas Ronhaar, which actually has been spot on. I'm not sure actually what kind of setup he was running, but we could see quite a big difference in setups, especially the wing settings. I think Red Bull was going for a more high wing, and I think Aston Martin and also Thomas Ronhaar was going for a lower wing kind of setup. But we can see already here into the end of Sector 1, he's going purple with an amazing 491. That is the only 0.4, I think, Sector 1 that we have seen, and he's attacking the curbs like crazy, like ever before. He's so confident, even though he has everything to lose. And now into Sector number 2. Look at the throttle. There's no braking. It's a little lift. That's ridiculous. And he's so close to invalidating. So much commitment. That just shows you how much these drivers take up on when they're going for these sort of hot laps. And throughout here, super easy, nice and flat. End of Sector 2, approaching Sector 3. And that is actually where Otis gained ground on him. He was on a really good split, but here I don't think he hit that corner perfectly. Also on this one, ran a bit wide on the entry. Now getting back onto it and attacking the inside curb once more, keeping it tight, and that's enough to just barely stay ahead of Otis Lawrence. And thanks to the amazing production, if we want, we can have another look at it with both side by side, which I want to focus on Sector 3, so let's skip to that. Because Otis also was on a great one. Sector 1 was a little bit slower, 5.23, but that's where Otis gained quite a bit. Then the split. Let's have a look on that. Into Sector 3. We have it right there. So Otis was nearly a 10th down. But now we can see how much he gained already on that right-hander. Then on the left, perfect lock, flipping the inside corner. Now also there, probably could have cut a little bit more, and just, he nails it. Honestly, that was so close. Such a great insight from both of these drivers, how they're driving. And I will send it back to you guys. Over there.
Thank you very much, Marcel. That was great. I liked just the fast forward
I
button
wanted to
there.
commentate it in fast forward as well.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Honestly, that's how quick it felt when we were on board with both of them. They were just absolutely rapid. I love that everyone's a VIP now. That's been wheeled in to the main arena. That's superb.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. Thank you very much, Marcel, for that. We'll be continuing to utilise your skills there throughout the next few days. Another team that I want to talk about, guys, before we wrap things up, is McLaren. What is going on? We said in the pre-show they're not where they need to be, but both out in Q2.
Well, let's go glass half full. Okay, so it's both drivers, so clearly missing something around the circuit. We heard from Thomas Ronhard that he thought this was going to be his worst track. Something is just a degree out, isn't it, with both cars? When you've got a former champion and the only one of their team to win a race this year going out in the second part of qualifying, something has not worked out in their preparation there for both drivers to fall.
And they're going to need to get that sorted because it's not long until we race. Now, we're going to pause on the desk for a moment and head over to Claire. Tell us who you're with and what you found out.
He needs no introduction, does he? Brendan Lee, of course. Your final weekend in F1 sim racing. How are you feeling?
I feel all right, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't really think it's fully sunk in yet. I think maybe on Thursday, maybe after Thursday, it will sink in a bit more.
Okay, all right. So preparations obviously were exactly the same coming into this, surely?
I mean, yes, so of course, we also have Tico driving tomorrow, who's, of course, the third driver for the team. So I'm really excited to see how he performs, and hopefully he can earn a sort of position going forward as well into next season.
So at the moment, you don't feel like it's really sunk in. Obviously, if you've not been following Brendan's story, you've been in this since it started, really, haven't you? How old are you now? Literally,
I'm like
still 25.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But you've had such a long career in this now. And when people think of F1 sim racing, I mean, they think of you.
Oh, thank you. I wouldn't have thought that way, but thank you very much.
Okay, so you're going to watch someone else racing tomorrow. How does that feel for you?
Feels a bit weird, because I've been in that position my whole career of the one driving in the races, but as well as seeing the work that Tico's doing behind the scenes to grow, progress, get faster, stronger, also mentally in his capacity is really cool to see. I'm excited to see because I think he will do a good job.
It's very weird to ask you how you're feeling about something and only get about 4 words from you. This is very disconcerting for me. It feels like it really hasn't actually sunk in for you yet. What are you going to do with all your free time? Are you still going to be racing? What's the plan?
Oh, I want to move to doing content creation, presenting, and basically also, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been playing the Formula 1 game since 15 years. They started making on the consoles in 2010. So every single year I've been playing it on the release date even. I want to do content creation, presenting, but also giving my experience to the next generation coming through so they can basically not make the mistakes that I've made in my career.
Okay, so it's a real point of looking back at your career at the moment. And because I'm excited to talk to you again in a couple of days' time and see if it's sunk in on Thursday.
Well, I think, let's see. I think Thursday morning we'll sink in.
Thursday morning. Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll have a chat on Thursday morning and then we'll talk Thursday evening. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us. I'm excited to see how this happens. And I'm also not used to you not talking this much. So it's very confusing. Guys, back to you.
Whoa. Sounds like we all need to be a bit worried about our jobs.
Yeah, Brendan Lee.
Yeah.
I mean,
one-man show. That's all you need from him, really.
He's reduced the words for the moment, but wants to be a content creator or a presenter. Crucially, he didn't say commentator, so fine by me, Brendan. You do you.
Oh gosh. Okay. While we can, for the last few rounds that we have a job, let's go through the starting grid, shall we, guys?
Before the Brendan Lee takeover, he's in 20th, and he's got a new competitor next to him in 19th, Matt.
Yep, Chavo Conyi. Thank you very much for that, Alex. You didn't want to pronounce that, did you, mate? You didn't want to pronounce that.
Esteban Pookie is alongside Alvaro Taraton.
Oh, 17th, okay.
Yeah, he's in 17th position. And who's next, Matt?
You got Edu in 16th position alongside Alfie Butcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying about McLaren and their struggles. Then his teammate, Lucas Blakely, in P14. Over to you, Alex.
Danny Beresnay is alongside him, Matthew. And then we move forward. And who do we find? Duncan Hofland in 12th position. He's next to Joris Krozen, who is competing in the Haas. We journey into the top 10 with Nicholas Longay. But who will be 8 meters ahead of him?
Tom Manley. Alex Jakes.
Tom Manley, very
Both
good.
of them not setting lap times in qualifying in Q3. Tamas Gal, P8. I'm hoping for Haas's sake they can actually score points from great positions in qualifying. And as Ilderim, we didn't really mention that both RBs were in the Q3 session as well. They did a fantastic job in qualifying. And then to row 3.
Where we find Ishmael Fassi and Jarno Otmir. Good job we don't have a rehearsal for this bit, otherwise the quality would be embarrassing. Barry Burmond will be a contender around this circuit. He's in 4th. 3rd place, Freddie Rasmussen. But who's on the front row, Matt?
It's Otis Lawrence, and of course, Thomas Ronhaar on pole position, bagging himself a point in his championship hunt. And now we're going to just throw it back to you, Ariana.
I don't know if you were meant to do that, Ariana,
No.
to be honest.
I think you might be doing it for the next one.
If you were. We'll tighten that up for tomorrow.
I don't know what that was, really.
We don't either.
But thank you, I guess.
a game of
It was the grid, is what it was.
It was meant to be your starting grid, but of course, maybe just look at it with the sound off, replay that. But thank you guys, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you to Marcel and Claire as well. That is qualifying done and dusted. We turn our attention now to the race. We'll be back to bring you all of the action from 9 p.m. So make sure you join us then. It is going to be a good one. But for now, that's all.